All right, I got Midnight Rider by the Allman Brothers for you today. So it starts out with this little riff. So it's a quick little kind of a rake. You got that thumb, first finger, second finger, doing this kind of a D chord. We don't need the little 2 on this D chord. It's just kind of a D power chord. So you kind of rake up those 3 strings. And then we're going to go bass and then chord, like all 3 at once. So it's like rake, and then bass, and then chord, all 3. Just does that 4 times to get it going. So once again, nice and slow. Okay, then we get into this main riff. You might put your pinky in there and make it a little easier. We got to do a 2 on the G string, 1, and then 3. Now what I do is after I hit that 3, 2, 1, 3, then I'm going to hit all 3 of these, make the chord, and then just the 2 and the 1 back to the 2 and the 3, so I don't bother with the big string on those last 2 things. So it's... Okay, so once again, real slow, we get 2, 1, 3, and then we got all 3 notes, and then we have a 2-note thing, and that's the 2 and the 1 into the 2 and 3, so. And that big open D string, that kind of can ring through these chords here at the end too, so. See how it's still ringing? If you just don't touch it, it'll keep going. Okay, so that's like our main little vamp right there, that little riff. So we're going to do that 4 times for the main vamp after the intro. So we had our intro is... And then that's our main vamp. So we do that 4 times to get it going, and then we do a verse. The verse is going to have 6 times of that same thing. Once we finish, let's say we'll do the last 2 of that. 5th one. 6th one. Now we're going to have G minor. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And then C chord. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And then we're back to our vamp. We're going to have 4 times. Okay, and then another verse starts, and that's going to go 6 times again. So let's say we're doing the last 2 again. 3, 4. 5th one. 6th one, back to G minor. 1 and 2. Going to C. Back to the vamp. 4 times on the vamp. Okay, so just to scooch us along here quicker, we're going to do 4 times of that vamp right there after the G minor to C. And then we do 4 more times of that vamp, and that begins a guitar solo. So let's say we're doing those 4. 3, 4. So at that point, we come into a change in the solo where we're going to have C chord and B flat chord. So we got those 3s up there. You could do 3, 3, 3, and 1 if you want. Okay, so we're going to have a kind of a galloping rhythm on this, so it's going to switch from that main vamp. And that guitar solo has a lot of bends and stuff, so we're not going to mess with that one, but we are going to play a little bit of the solo of this next section coming up, because it doesn't have so many bends. And it's got some cool little melodies up top we're going to do. So the first thing we're going to do is look at the rhythm behind the second part of this solo. That's going to go like a galloping rhythm, like bum ba da dum ba da dum ba da dum ba da, that kind of thing. So like 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a, and we're gonna go from C to B flat. So 3, 4. We're gonna go 3 times back and forth. But on the 3rd time on this B flat, we're gonna go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then an extra measure of that B flat. That's how the solo ends. Back into our vamp. So once again, from this section, we got C and B flat, C and B flat, C, and then this time we go to B flat. We're going to do it an extra one, and we're going to go to simple eighth notes instead of that chugging, galloping rhythm. Okay, so here we go again. 3, 4. C again, B flat, C again. Now this B flat is going to 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and do it again. 2 and 3 and 4, and back to our vamp. Okay, then we get into the last verse. Last verse is going to have 6, just like the other verses did. We'll do the last 2, 3, 4. Fifth one, sixth one. Now we're back to G minor and C. We got our vamp twice. Back to G minor. Back to the vamp. And you can kind of give that a little bit of vibrato since you're holding that chord for a while to make it sound a little cooler. So let's do those vamps again. 3, 4. And then we're going to have G minor again. C. Vamp. G minor, C again. So basically just keeps doing this and then fades out. Say this is the last one. By then you're about faded out. Okay, so let's take a look at that little lead where we had that C to B flat thing. So we had okay, so for that solo, we're going to have. So we kind of wait for that C to hit, and then we have the 13th fret of the second string, and then little string, 12, 13, 15, a couple times. So, and then we're going to go 11 here. So we have 11, and then little 10, 11, and then 13 to 12. So it's like. Hold that 12. This riff again. Same thing. And then we have some other riffs kind of coming in here where when we have the chorus, like. We have a slide thing there when it goes, not gonna catch me, no, not gonna catch the midnight rider. So each time we do that G minor to C, you might practice that a little bit doing the slide. 5 to 7 on the G, 3 to 5 on the B, 5 to 7 up here. Okay, so. And then we have some other things, like one last thing. At the very end of that, you kind of have these 3s here and the G and the B. Kind of slide into the 7s to get you back in your. All right, Midnight Rider, Allman Brothers. Let's look at that intro one more time. Okay, so that was a rake, and then the bass, and then the chord. Diddly-dum, diddly-dum. Okay, and then the vamp and everything is easy enough. We went through all that solo section again, so I think we're all good on that. Midnight Rider, Allman Brothers, thanks a lot for watching. Talk to you soon.